Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. Today I have my good friend, fellow videographer, Anthony Esguerra. How are you, buddy? How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Yourself? Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, for sure, man. I just have to compliment you on your background, your room. It looks pretty stellar. If you're watching it from YouTube, you'll see what I'm talking about. You got a Blue Jays jersey.
Yep,
What is that, a
got it back.
vintage? Like back from the 90s?
This is from it's actually a holiday jersey, so like early 2000s, that kind
Oh,
of
okay,
era. But
cool.
I just love the color
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and
The
and
colors
then
are
uh,
amazing.
then obviously the Hokusai wave there. Just
Yeah,
got
yeah.
the get the vibes going on.
Tell me about that Hokusai because I've seen that a lot. I used that as my wallpaper quite
Yeah.
recently, like for my iPhone. What's
So
with the
I
background with that?
so I used to work at Uniqlo, which is a
Nice.
Japanese company. In retail, I've always kind of like been interested in like the design stuff of that
Yeah.
in the fashion world. And now I
Right.
work for another Japanese company. And so I don't know, I just like the kind of aura that it kind of gives off, just be calm and everything. And this is kind of my calm space at times. I mean, it's my everything space. It's my creative like war zone, but also I can bring back the calm. So a little bit of both there.
Yeah, for sure. I remember reading something like it means best of luck or good luck, right? And all your endeavors and kind of exactly that tranquility, right? That sense of tranquility and calmness. It's so important to have that, especially what we experienced in this pandemic and what's going on in the future, right? Just so many people have been affected in different ways. How have you
Yeah,
been
definitely.
coping? How have you been coping? Like things getting better for yourself?
Yeah, I would say so. I
Yeah,
mean, it's still like things aren't back to where it was before.
right.
I used to do a lot of like travel stuff, or I'd go to different events and then I'd shoot for like I'd shoot like behind the scenes kind of stuff like that
Nice.
way. So that hasn't happened, and it hasn't just hasn't been a priority. I'd love to go back into more of that kind of world again, but we'll see how things go.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you said it, where people are getting all excited as they should, think light at the end of the tunnel, the vaccinations and restrictions lifting. But at the same time, there's something in the air, like it doesn't feel the same, right? And we took advantage of a lot of things back before the pandemic, right? We didn't
Yeah.
we kind of took it for granted in a way. Just having that liberty, that privilege to go out and see your friends whenever you wanted to, or like you said, go to an event and shoot BTS footage, right?
Yeah, well, I had the luxury of like going to school downtown with you at Ryerson,
Yeah, yeah,
but also like I worked downtown for majority of my career, and
nice.
in that kind of environment, you have the ability to just go at a moment's notice, like, hey, let's go shoot something, let's go meet up,
Yeah,
and then like you can kind of be creative on the spot, be spontaneous, and that's kind of how I like doing things. I've never worked in a studio. I've never worked like weddings or anything like that
right.
that you had to kind of pre-plan in advance. I'm kind of just like a hobbyist that likes to do film stuff, and
Yeah,
usually I find that through like spontaneous moments, and so that's kind of lacked during the pandemic. But I definitely think that the light is coming up
yeah.
at the end of the tunnel, and we'll see what happens from there.
Well, the important thing, what I picked up from that comment you said is you make time for yourself with the arts, right? Like this hobby, like you're not putting it to the side, and it's not like you haven't touched on it. You still work, but you're also trying your way to expand your creativity and really be in touch with that imagination. Being downtown, especially, you hit it right on. That's part of the reason why I always was an advocate about working downtown. Is it always keeps your mind stimulated because there's so much going on, there's so much action, there's so many different characters too walking the streets. It inspired me with a lot of material that I write, like feature length screenplays and things like that. um, the suburbs, it's a different vibe. It's a little bit too calm, and if you don't leave your house or if you don't leave your street, you're not really going to be that inspired compared to the city. So I definitely commend you for that, for sticking it out and staying true to your vision, your creativity.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that in the sense that like there's the saying that like you are the average of the five people you hang out with the most. And
Yeah,
when I was downtown, I had the opportunity to expand that five to a lot of other people or
yeah,
resources like events, and then that way I could pick up a lot more things rather than just being at home and on my off time just like taking a nap or whatever. Like I could
yeah.
actually
Well,
go out to events and learn new things that way and be curious, just explore, and we don't have that same luxury working from home.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you said that as well, because the whole concept of you're the average of the five people you hang out with, it never really hit me until I was older, until I realized, you gotta know who your friends are. You gotta also be picky about that, right? Like you can't be around people that you can be around people that are not in film or maybe creative, but at the same time, like you should also associate with people that are on your same wavelength, right? Like you're thinking the same way. And I want to know from you. You say that you kind of dabbled with videography. You were able to, touch on your hobby. Why wasn't it an option for you, or do you see it as an option to go full time with your videography?
Yeah, I think so right now, I'm still kind of fresh in the sense of, I graduated in 2019, it's 2021 now. I'm still, um, pursuing what I had pursued in university, which was this marketing path. And I'm now in a product marketing role over at Canon. So I work
Nice.
closely, or I guess like at an offhand to a lot of the products, the lenses, cameras that we launch and put out there. So I think I've positioned myself in a good place where I can still do a lot of my kind of business background,
Yeah.
but I'm learning in the background of a lot of different like new tech and the product and how to shoot better, and that stuff I kind of find the time for it on the weekends or in my evenings, and I when the time is right, I do think that there's going to be a lot more content on that side, and I think I don't want to just say it, but I do
Hmm.
have plans to leverage what I'm learning to kind of build the structure for how I build my YouTube and whatever other kind of media I want to take on later on.
Yeah, for sure. And you said it right there. You have a sweet spot, as I call it, like the exactly what my intentions were, because I'm such a fanatic for film. A lot of the jobs, like when I worked at Warner Brothers or Entertainment One, it was that could be your day job. You're still in the industry, still working, like getting familiar with the business side, because that's what you and I both studied, right? Bachelor of Commerce. But then when you go home or after hours, you're scratching that creative itch. So yeah, that's really cool, and congratulations on getting that job at Canon.
Thanks.
You started recently, or you've been in it for a while?
Yeah, just about a month ago, a month and a half.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
So things are
And
flying.
how did this come on your radar? Like, how did this come across?
Um, I used to work at like in kind of the startup innovation world. I was developing communities, bridging the startup with the corporate world, and that kind of like phased out as the pandemic kind of came along,
Right.
and this year I just got fortunate. Honestly, it was just LinkedIn, like keeping my networks like warm, just making sure. Actually, in that time, I kind of tell myself I was like lost in the right direction in the
Right.
sense that I knew the path that the next spot I wanted to go to was going to be more creative leaning, and like give me a chance to leverage something more into the creative hobbies that I do, photography and videography. And I just got lucky that this job came up. I actually applied for something else, and then they offered me this role, which actually turned out to be better. So that's kind of how things work on the hiring and recruiting part. But just I think with whether it's like in business side or on your creative on your creative journey, you got to make sure you're maintaining your relationships and people that you work with,
Yeah.
and you never know when you can tap them for just for asking questions or asking for their feedback on stuff,
Yeah.
asking like how would you navigate this part of your career, and that's kind of the stuff I've translated to my business career.
Yeah, it's so important to put yourself out there, right, and retain those connections. They taught it. That's like business 101. They always tell us
Yeah,
that. That's something I never really, I'll be honest, took maybe as serious as I should have. Especially when you're young, right? You keep hearing networking, networking, but as you get older, you realize, wow, it's really who you know. Sometimes it's not even what you know. What you know can actually be learned on site, especially in the film world, right? But just getting that foot in the door, it pays a lot to know someone close to you or someone that could get you in that position. And I'm learning that every day, right? When I do these podcasts or when I go to networking events or when I collaborate with fellow colleagues, they tell me all the time, like the importance of always putting yourself out there, always, um, keeping in touch with those that can offer you something better. You know,
Yeah,
a big thing my mother would always tell me growing up is hang out with people that are like you or better than you. And it makes so much more sense now. Like obviously they're not better than you, as you're still equal, you're a human being, but better than you in the sense that they can make you realize your potential, make you realize some more possibilities in your career, give you tips and advice, like you said, on your direction, the direction of your career in the industry, because a lot of us feel lost at times. And you just mentioned that, right? You touched on that where you were feeling lost in the right direction. I feel that often, more so recently, because I guess I don't know if it's like post pandemic kind of thing where it's a different kind of structure, but I know for a fact that you feel like that because you're early in the process, right? It's not like I've been doing this for like 10 years straight. I've only been doing
yeah,
it consistently for two years, right? So I have to give myself some leeway.
which is awesome already. Like to
Yeah,
to have been
thank
able
you.
to commit to that. But yeah, one caveat I would just say is that when you do develop those relationships, it's always got to be like have authenticity to it. Like
Yeah,
you're genuinely
of
curious.
course.
You're not just like using people just to use them.
Yeah,
It's like you kind of yeah, that's pretty much like people can smell a BS, so you want to be
yeah,
able
for
to
sure. Yeah,
develop
I
those
mean, you deal with. I'm
relationships
sure you
with
dealt.
curiosity.
I don't know how many, how deep in the industry you've gotten, but like, because I've dealt with the corporate world, but I've also dealt with, more independent projects, and you see like the people that are like you said have good intentions that are genuinely curious about your work, or you see people that are just in it for the connection or in it like what can I get out of you, right? And that's what separates you from everyone else is what do you want in return, right? Like for me, a big thing why I started this podcast is I want to gain value. I want to gain knowledge from people's journey, from people's struggles. I want to teach myself. I want to kind of learn from their mistakes or maybe apply them to my own, like maybe something that's worked for you that can benefit me. And through that interaction, I have to say, a lot of people, a lot of guests have been really supportive and really helpful, I have to say. And I'm grateful for that. Reaching out, staying in touch, giving me tips on like what lenses or cameras to buy. Now that I know that you have this product knowledge for Canon, yeah, definitely, keep you on my radar because I'm always overwhelmed with the
You
specs
shoot
and
Canon?
well, I shoot Sony actually.
Okay, I came from the
But
Sony world too.
there you go. So I know you did because I saw a post. So I brought up. I'm happy you brought it up because I saw a post of you posting like an alpha series, like a whole
Yeah,
bunch of boxes, right? So I said, this guy knows what's up. And I'm always curious, right? Like, because I'm sure there's people, what I learned about this business is everyone has a different talent, everyone has a different expertise on certain things, right? You might be more in the technical side, like understanding the specs. Someone else might be understanding like the logistics of how sets run. You know what I mean? And it's all about, like you said, keeping that network strong, keeping that network close together because it's a team collaborative effort. If that's anything that the arts has taught us.
yeah. I can give you a story in the
Yeah,
sense
sure.
like of how relationship building helped me. Like I think like for someone who's just like a hobbyist, I didn't go to school for any of this. I
Right.
again like I don't really work on sets. I haven't really shadowed anyone per se. But all I've been able to do is like there's this actor in Toronto. His name is Simu Liu. He's pretty well known now. He's starring in the upcoming movie Shang-Chi. Yeah, I met him like maybe 3 or 4 years back,
Nice.
back when he was just beginning with Kim's Convenience, and he was hosting an event, a small one, just a little night market here in Markham, and I was just like again like a fan of the work that he did and the kind of um, the personality that he brings to the acting world, and just like he pushes on a lot of like social issues and stuff like that. So I just like him as a person,
Right.
and when I saw him there, I offered to. I just took some photos, and this was just me. Just I just liked having my camera with me. I decided to take some photos. I shared it with him, and in that moment, I kind of provided something to him without asking for anything in return.
Right.
But it kind of, I think that there's always, you know, there with a lot of new people, they kind of like feel a sense of entitlement, like, hey, I'm a good photographer here, just give me work or whatever.
Right.
But for me, it was, this is something free of value that, you know, I can show you that I'm kind of on your side. Like I'm just interested in what you do. And then from there, kind of, I've built the relationship a little bit
Nice.
to help him on other projects here in the city, like shoot at different events. And I just think that that instance or that kind of story is not unique to me. But I wanted to highlight it as like my own personal kind of story of why being genuinely curious and just being a fan of other people's work really matters.
Yeah, 100%. And that goes back to your point about being authentic, right? Like you could have gone in there and said, "Oh, this guy like has a potential to be a good actor. Let me see if I can get something out of him because if he makes it, he'll remember me." Like you could have that very malicious kind of cynical view, but instead you took it as, you're benevolent about it. You're like, "Hey, like this is an opportunistic moment, to create with someone that's also a creative. I can gain value from it. I can enhance my skills." And you're not expecting anything in return. That's what I took from your story, right? And that's why he remembered you. That's why he kept you around, right? When with these projects, and I think that's a great point. I should add because a lot of us, creatives will get caught up in our own head, right? We want to make it. We want to, get the best content possible, and we don't realize that the people we're dealing with are human too. And how would you feel on the other end if someone was coming to you saying, what's your can I show you my portfolio, work with me, whatever. If you're that aggressive, you should kind
Right.
of ease into it, right? You should kind of say like, hey, if you ever need someone, like for me, when I talk to people, as soon as they bring up videography or as soon as they bring up photography, or it sounds like in their voice they're seeking someone to help them in a project, I'll always like throw it out there, right? It's kind of no pressure. It's not like, oh, you got to hire me, like I know what to do, unless I have a
Yeah.
relationship with them, right? It's like I could throw that in there. But
Yeah. I think
yeah, for sure. It's always about throwing out your name and saying like, hey, if you ever need help, like let me know. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think there's so many photographers out there. People always say like, it's saturated and whatnot. Photography, videography, anything kind of creative, like the world's kind of been democratized in that sense. Like anyone
Yeah.
can be a creative. So what you have to deal with is your service and like your how you build that relationship. And yeah, I think that's really important to mention.
Well, what I strongly believe in is because you just said it right there. A lot of people are creatives now, right? You go on Instagram, everyone's an influencer, everyone has a story to tell. But what it comes down to, and I'm a firm believer of this, is how unique is your voice, right? How unique is
Yeah,
your eye, your vision? Because I see videos all the time, right? Some that discourage me because I say, oh my God, how did they get that shot? Because I fall into that category where you start comparing. But then it comes down to like comparison is a thief of joy. You start to say to yourself, but what can you offer? Instead of looking at that person, it's like, what can you offer? Take their work as inspiration. Maybe it'll encourage you to do something else or expand your horizons. But what can you offer, Daniel, that's different, or Anthony, right? Instead of looking at other people's work as like comparison, or oh my God, this market's saturated, like everyone's a photographer, I'll never make it. What if you can bring something unique and different? And that's something that I actually had a conversation recently with this my clothing line. I don't know if you've seen it, the 94 collection. So I want to, instead of doing photo shoots, right? Because that's what everyone's doing, typical photo shoots. I do dance video promos that I'm planning, right? As a marketing campaign. And that's just like my angle towards marketing this streetwear apparel. You know what I mean? Like to change it up, to give someone, because it helps me to express my passion for videography and filmmaking, right? It helps me utilize those skills, but at the same time, it helps me to ultimately market the brand, right? Market what I'm selling to people. So I think it's important to always come from a different angle. Do you agree?
yeah, absolutely. Like anyone can show off a portfolio, but once you kind of personalize it and give it some context for that specific individual, then yeah, I think like that makes all the difference.
That's what I love about this business, man. Is that, and I don't mean with condemnation. Like I respect what everyone does, but I've always seen the arts as like Tarantino's a big fan of mine, and I always say to myself like what he does only he can do, and there's a fascination for it because that's a unique talent. You know what I mean? Like he's a unique storyteller. Like these jobs like marketing, right? Like everyone, if you think about it, obviously they can they have to have the right knowledge and the education, the training for it. But at the end of the day, like what you create on YouTube, aside from your job, is only what Anthony can do, not even what I can do. You get what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm with you there, and I think like uh, people talk about like finding your voice, and I think it's a culmination and combination of a lot of different factors in your life, like your different interests and how you can kind of position it in a way that you can create a story, right? So like for me, for example, I thought, I mean, I knew I wasn't unique as a photographer, but coming
Right.
into Canon now, it's like I know I'm definitely not unique now. But I do have some like during the pandemic, I've kind of dabbled in some other interests as well. Like I do a lot of just for my active stuff, I do some biking, and then
Nice.
I'm interested in like the streetwear fashion and culture like that, and also a little bit of watches recently as well. So
Nice.
in every of those kind of interests, I adapt like my photography skills to be able to capture my interest in that. So it's a crossover of a lot of different things, and that's something that I want to reflect back onto my YouTube page at some point.
Yeah, and that's so I'm glad you brought that up again because the YouTube channel, I've subscribed to you, and I've seen you, put out some content, some videos. Um, but I want to now that I have you on the podcast, I've always wanted to know like what is the intention of this YouTube channel? What are you going to be focusing on? Like what kind of content going forward?
Yeah, so I think we like our one of our first conversations, like when I first met you, we were discussing this earlier,
Yeah.
like around like I guess like third year or fourth year is when I was almost kind of forced um to 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 make my first video. I was applying for a marketing conference and they wanted something creative, and I didn't think that a photo really captured, my personality or the things I wanted to convey in my
Right.
application. So I did it all on video, and that was my first time. I knew nothing, and the shots are probably, they're not cinematic or anything, but it was a story of me and why I thought I was a good fit for this
Right.
event. And that kind of was a catalyst for me to experiment with different types of videography styles and filming styles. And so for pre-pandemic, and it was a lot of kind of mentioning what I like similar to what I was saying earlier. Like I was just capturing the moment in a lot of different events I was going to, or just different lifestyle experiences,
Yeah.
travel or photography adventures. It was a bit of that. And I think now, I think I'm trying to find my voice, if you will,
Mm,
in, now that I have some more of the product knowledge, I
right.
kind of want to bring some of that up as well. Like what, um, you know, I maybe not, like kind of a little bit of education, but also like pointing to, how, like, why is my, like, like what gear do I use for a photography adventure? Why do I use it? What do I like and dislike out of it? And I think I want to give a more holistic kind of view as to what happens when I go for a photo shoot.
Well, yeah, that's amazing. For me, what I admire about you is that you diversify yourself. It's not like you stick to you're doing marketing, right? You're doing the hobbies, but you're also traveling, and that actually feeds into your creativity, correct? Like it inspires you to do more projects. With regards to the YouTube channel, one suggestion I could make is I feel like you have such an array of knowledge, such a strong background in the products, right? Like the lenses and the bodies. And now that you have this, avenue with Canon, are you thinking of doing like a playlist, like a section of, reviewing gear and things like that? Is that something that would interest you?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of where I'd want to go.
Yeah.
Things still cost money, or if I or
Oh, of
once
course.
I
Yeah.
want to kind of develop the right networks, then maybe I can get some access to some exclusive
Yeah,
gear and
I'm
whatever else.
buddy.
But
Like you see it all the time on these YouTube, but buddy, you see it all the time on these YouTube channels, and I'm saying like, how do they have the money? Like, and I'm saying, maybe it's just having that, like you said, that right connection. Because I'm sure you guys deal with the product on hand, like you have to feel it, physically touch it, or there's demos, and you get your hands on one of them, and you just like, because you already have this passion for the industry, and you put it up on YouTube, and I think a lot of people will benefit from that content, especially me, because I'm always looking for gear, I'm always looking for what to buy, and I would love to hear your opinion because I trust you, right? And I'm sure
I
there's people that
actually
follow you. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I actually have a new product that I do want to review sometime soon. I'm
Nice.
just trying to figure out the way I want to do it. Trying to figure out like, I guess this is another topic, but like how can I leverage different platforms rather than just being a YouTuber, you know? So there like I'm switching from Sony to Canon. I think that's no surprise with the line of work I'm going with
Of
now.
course. Conflict of
But
interest.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think it mattered too much, but I just felt better, and I do like the products that we carry, so it was a right time to
Did you
make the
have the
move.
Alpha series, like the A7 III by any chance?
I had the A7 II, and I've
Oh,
sold
okay, okay.
all that and the lenses
Right,
and
right, right.
everything. Um, but if you want to know what Canon camera I move to next, you'll see in the
What would
next
you
YouTube
recommend
video.
for, yeah, what would you recommend for filmmaking? Not
On the Canon
photography,
side,
like a filmmaking camera. Because when I bought my A7 III, that's what they sold me on. And a lot of
for the
people
Sony
stand by
side,
it.
I think A7S series. I think it's the 3 or 4 coming up now.
Nice.
That would be the. I mean, that's a dedicated like video line. So
What about
um,
for Canon?
for Canon,
Like a filmmaking camera, cinematic camera.
see, I need to think about this more because I'm still too
No
new to the
problem.
products.
Putting you on the spot. It's all good, buddy.
Yeah, but I've seen
Um,
good things from the R5.
R5? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I had a Canon, my first camera, piece of equipment was a Rebel T5i.
yeah,
It was a DSLR. Did the job, you know. That's how I started my first few YouTube videos. That's when we became acquainted. And yeah, when I got into the mirrorless cameras and I started to understand Sony and what they could do. Not that I have anything against Canon because I know a lot of people use it. Just made that transition was a huge jump for me. And then I got myself a DJI gimbal, which
oh
really,
jeez,
yeah, which really, because I was very serious, man, like about these shots. It was always bothering me that I couldn't pull off or emulate the shots that I see in film,
yeah,
like the movies I love, right? Obviously, you know, the production, I don't have the highest production budget, so you're obviously going to see some flaws here and there, but it does the job. Like the intention is there, and that's what's important, right? If you're a director, like you don't want people to watch your film and say, "What was he trying to do in this shot?" or "What was he trying to pull off?" You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I think that's very true. But at the beginning, it's actually a really fun experience to go through. Like, what exactly do I need? Like, what gear do I need to pull off this shot? And I mean, you'll go through like a rabbit hole of all the stuff you
Oh,
can buy. But
100%.
of course,
Yeah.
it's always going to be about your creative vision and what you can pull off with what you have. And so,
And I feel like,
respects to anyone who doesn't have the all
yeah,
the gear but makes it happen.
yeah, and I feel like it's a bit of a trial and error, right? Like you
Yeah,
look like I remember buying a shotgun mic. Um, it was a lower end road mic, and it had this buzzing noise, and I just couldn't figure it out. But I was kind of cheap about it, where I said, "Oh, I don't want to pay more than 100, so I'll get it for $80." And I said, "What's this buzzing noise? Like I must be doing something wrong." So I look into it, whatever, and they do this review, and they were basically saying, if you get this model, like the low end model, the $80 one that I have, unfortunately, there is going to be a little bit of a buzzing noise from time to
oh no,
time. And it's kind of like, and that's where I learned my lesson, right? That's what I mean by trial and error is, you know, you become more advanced as you keep going, become more knowledgeable, but you also learn from your mistakes. Big thing for me is don't become cheap um, on things that you're trying to execute a certain vision. Like, for example, sound. It's so important, just as much as
yeah,
the story, to be immaculate. And if you cheap out on sound, like, and you're trying to compensate it for something else, you'll lose in the end. I was on a short film, directed a short film in June, and I had to hire a sound guy, a dedicated sound guy, because if people can't hear the dialogue, if it's not coherent, the sound effects, the footsteps, all that, all those intricate details, you will tune out. Whether you want to support me or not, like I could send you this video and you could say, "Oh, he's a nice guy, let me support him." But if it's like just buzzing noises and like echoing and you can't really pick out what the guy's saying in his first scene, you're gonna turn it off. You're not gonna stick it out.
it matters a lot. Yeah.
It matters a lot, man. It matters a lot. And that's like rule number one. I always remember that: story and sound. Um, so anyway, that's something that I'm glad we're on the same page with the equipment. And you had a more lighthearted approach though with navigating the equipment, trying to figure out like what works best for you. Me, it was more of an overwhelming thing because I don't see myself as technical. I've grown obviously as an artist, but I'm the kind of guy that wants to show up and just execute. You know what I mean? Like position the camera a certain way. But I learned a hard lesson is that until you get to that level, you have to kind of wear a lot of hats. You have to understand how everything functions, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of projects, I didn't have a DP. I had to act as a DP and a director, right? An editor. Getting into editing saved my life because editing allows me to articulate my vision a certain way. Not that an editor couldn't do it justice. I'm sure there's many talented editors out there, and I can't wait to work with them because there's projects are only going to get more complex. But for the time being, I think it's so important that you take control and you at least master what vision you're trying to tell the audience, right? Because that's what's got me the work I've received now because people have seen my portfolio, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, I think there's it's awesome that people kind of specialize. I have like a more of a run and gun kind of setup, and just trying to keep it like one setting. But
Right.
yeah, I do with what I've got. So
Same here.
there's different
Hey,
approaches.
no, you just said run and gun. I love that. Run and gun. That's what I always used to joke around with my buddies. Run and gun, the one setting, right? I'm
Yeah,
trying to dabble into different lenses, but exactly that, right? Like the picture profile. It's usually always on the same
yeah,
one. S-Log, color corrected in post, right? I've changed it to help me out to make my time more efficient. Like I have different picture profiles. That's what it's intended for, to switch it from time to time. But yeah, man, it's all a learning curve. It's all how much you dedicate yourself on YouTube. Thank God for that platform. Just amazing, talented people out there. I'm serious, man. Like they'll show you a clip and they'll say, you want this on your A7 III? This is what you do. And then they go through the picture profile. They tell you gamma needs to be 6. This needs to be 0. And I'm like, got
oh man,
it.
yeah, all the color science stuff. Like
Right?
yeah, some people are amazing with that.
But that's
With
what I
a
mean by the
lot of
technical,
education there.
and that's what I mean by the technical side. Hey, I'm still young. You never know if I might become that kind of guy where I'm reviewing. But it helps to know that there's people out there that really like understand black level saturation. I'm the kind of guy where it's like I have this vision in my head or a picture like references, and I want to match it as close as I can,
Yeah,
right? Because I'm more
I
of a
think it's an
storyteller.
yeah. I'm with you on that. I'm more. I kind of just stick with a color profile and then go with that. The teal and orange
Yeah,
never
there you go,
fails.
right? Yeah, yeah. Those are the best shots, bro. Those are the best shots. It catches the eye. But that's amazing, man. Yeah, the YouTube channel sounds very promising. Can't wait to see more content. Keep doing those field trips. Those are a lot of fun. You run around the city and interview people. You've been doing that, right? Or am I
Yeah,
thinking of someone
little bit
else?
of that.
Okay.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit of that. But it's been primarily like events kind of focused,
Right.
or like when I actually have a like a travel adventure to talk through that what like my behind the scenes of like what's going on in the day. I think the future of it is really going to be more kind of um, I guess like business focused, like really making it about the end viewer. I think like that's where people kind of
Yeah.
succeed on YouTube. Like they answer a question or they're providing an actual value to the viewer rather than just making something for themselves. I think that's where I was before. I was just making things that I was interested in. But I think the next level of YouTube or with any kind of platform is that you're teaching someone something new or you're showing them an experience that they wouldn't otherwise know of, and you're kind of framing it for something that they would want to be searching for. And I think there I think like that's the next level of standing out on the different platforms.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of game I'm kind of going through now.
Well, you got to provide substance. That's a big thing. That's a thing I learned from a lot of YouTube creators. And anytime you're questioning, like as an artist, like what's the next step? What's the next direction you should take? Reflect back on the content that you consume or the content you enjoy. What are they doing? Right? That's different. What are they doing? That's something that you could replicate as well. Like a big thing for me with my YouTube channel, if you subscribe to it, if you see it, it's podcasts, but it's also my filmography, my videography, and it's also vlogs. Me talking about my experiences with film or my experiences with mental
Drawing.
health or just all these different things like the pandemic, how it affected me, what to look forward to. And what I've learned is that people want to see different angles to you. People want to see a different side. People want to explore who you are just as much as you want to explore who they are. I was talking to a photographer the other day, and he was explaining to me is he doesn't want to be seen as just a photographer. He wants to show other sides of his life. He wants to show the people he collaborates with, the
Mhm.
exceptional, talented people. And he took a lot of inspiration from my podcast, like what I was kind of approaching. And that's the whole point, right, of this podcast. That's the whole point of the YouTube channel as a whole, the social media really, is to show people that you're not just what you're labeled as. Like, people don't see me as just a filmmaker. People see me as now a storyteller, or people now see me as the guy who advocates an advocate about mental health, let's say, right? Talk about the matters that are important to you, and you will find your audience. And I think that you have that going for you, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's going well for you too. So
Thanks, buddy.
we're both keeping at it, and I think we're both like very early in our stages
Yeah, 100%.
of our creative journey and figuring it out. Finding that voice or whatever. Um, and I think as technology continues to evolve, we just kind of have to be at the forefront of innovation and be able to leverage it to mix it in with your storytelling and like how can you best utilize whatever's out there to your advantage.
Yeah. You have to make it work for you, right? And this conversation is anyone who's listening, right? Who's in film, who's an artist, whatever have you. This should be an example that people are on their own path. People are on a different trajectory. Like you and I, we both share our passion for film and videography, but you're in product marketing at Canon, right? You're doing that, but you're also doing the YouTube channel on the side. And then you have me that's like, I flipped it where I wanted to go full time in this videography and see what's going on. But it doesn't mean that we're not going towards the same mission or the same goal, the objective. And that is our passion. That is happiness, right? So really nice talking with you, man. Like a lot of great insights. I'm glad you're just like thriving, really, as a creative, and you're learning more about the angle. I'm excited for you with the Canon, the product marketing. That's I really am, man, because that's a huge angle. It's like when I got a marketing job at Entertainment One, I learned the business side, right? Like how these films, these $1 million films are sold to the public.
Yeah,
You see it from a different angle. Now you're seeing like the equipment, like what you're dealing with, like what goes into it, what you should look out for. And you're able to now weed out. You don't need a YouTube channel. You can weed out like what's going to work for you as a content creator as you go forward.
yeah, I'm excited to work on the relationships with our team, but also the ambassadors,
Yeah. Yeah.
all those people, and learn more about the product. I need to do a lot of learning because like, did you know that we sell binoculars? And
I had no idea. Yeah. See, there you go. Right.
I didn't know. So there's a whole wide range
And
of
you got to
stuff I
treat it
can
with
kind
the
of do.
same respect as those camera lenses, right? Like that, those binoculars, I bet you they're like, the bread and butter too. So,
Yeah, there's a lot to
yeah,
learn,
no,
product side, relationship side, but putting everything together and hopefully, I'm in the right spot. I just gotta make it work for myself and find that lane. But
yeah,
yeah, thanks again
100%.
for having me for your podcast. I'm excited to just be catching up with you and like getting some FaceTime and see what you're up to.
Yeah, 100%, man. I plan to have you back on the podcast again. Just documenting your journey, seeing what you're up to, especially with the YouTube channel, like picking up. I'm always I come across. That's why I mentioned the field trips. I remember in the pandemic, I came across a couple of videos, and I remembered our friendship at Ryerson and the conversations we used to have about, again, the arts and videography, filmmaking, things like that. And then I saw a Reason post with the Alpha series, the lenses and the bodies, and I was like, wow, this guy, like, he's in it. He knows what he's doing. Like he's still, because you haven't talked to certain people in a while, right? We still like have a respect for each other, but we don't keep in touch as much, right? Because we have our own lives. But you never know if people kind of drift off, right? Like, what if I came to you and I said, oh, like, I'm a history teacher now? It's like, oh, okay. Like, I remember when he was in film, but now he's a history teacher, right? But it's
Yeah,
just you know what I mean? Isn't it such a relief to know that people are still pursuing what they kind of set their sights on?
yeah. No 180s here, just onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards, man. And yeah, life ebbs and flows, but you just got to stick with it for sure. I do want to mention the one thing because you caught me by surprise. You said you graduated in 2019. Did you switch programs?
Yeah, so I mean,
Because I
long story
graduated in
short.
2016, and yeah, like I swear you were the same year or similar
So I was on
years.
track for 2017.
Oh, okay,
But
right.
when we had met, I was actually in the law program. So I was on a
Oh, that's
law
right.
school
Yeah, yeah.
path.
Okay, makes sense.
Um, but then long story short, I found that I really liked marketing. I did some brand marketing work, and I just decided to, in my last year, which wasn't the smartest idea, but I
Oh,
made the switch into marketing at
wow.
that point. But haven't turned back since, and I think it's been the
Nice.
right decision.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm glad you stuck and you took that risk. A lot of people would be too afraid, right? A lot of people would say, probably even me. I'd probably say, nah, you know what? Like I just did this 4 years. I'm done. I don't want to go back to school. But you had that bravery, that courage to stick it out. And there's nothing wrong with, expanding your mind, right? Like always constantly be learning. You learn the law side, but then you also, and so those courses, those credits were able to transfer over and you're able to complete
Some
it
of them.
in 2 years.
I wish it
Some
were
of them,
more,
eh?
but some of them, yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh my God, don't even get me started on the education system.
Yeah.
Professionally, remember the professionally related? I mean, the liberal studies.
All
Those
that.
those those could have been absent.
Yeah. You just show up for the exam and you're good.
Yeah, show for the examiner good. Yeah, Anthony and I definitely have some stories. It was a riot, but we enjoyed it being in the city, right? Dead in the city, heart in the city.
That was my favorite part,
Um,
man, just being down there. All
yeah,
the
no, it was
people,
it was
all
amazing.
the
Yeah,
life that was happening, you know?
all walks of life, man. And like you said, it was a great opportunity to stick to your true passion, your true hobby, right? And that is videography. So really cool having you on. Thank you again, Anthony, for coming on the podcast. Thank you again, everybody else, for listening. And yeah, we'll talk soon, man.